Amanda, Nancy's granddaughter-in-law. I met Nancy about 26 years, so I only knew her in her senior years, but about 26 years ago, and it was a couple years before I ever put my eye out for her grandson. Nancy was a woman who you've heard loved animals, music, art, gardening. And what always impressed me about her was that she had an eager interest to learn new things, to keep learning about things she already knew, or to teach herself things that she didn't know. Art and piano are two examples of that. Her zest to live life and to learn more was very impressive to me as a young 20-something, observing this woman in her older 70s. When Winthrop was a baby, we were out in Cape Cod. She was in her early 80s, and she went for a bicycle ride with us along the trail near her home there. And she was always interested to hear the kids' latest antics, whatever recipe I was making, or we could talk about her gardens as I was learning about them, and her love for antiques. One summer we went to visit her when the kids were little, and Paul and Nancy were hosting a family in their home that summer because they were finishing up the finishing touches on the home they were building. They had a teenage daughter, and Perry's sisters were teenagers at the time, and they all got along great. But anyway, I got to the door, Nancy grabs me, and she pulls me over to the piano, and on the piano was Pachelbel's Canon in D, which is not a real easy song. She said, Amanda, play this part for me, please, right here. All the girls are learning it. I've just got to learn it too. Being around Nancy always inspired me. So when her husband Paul died, family was considering a senior apartment for her so that she could, age into whatever help she needed. But I pulled on Perry's elbow and I said, pick me instead. Our family was nearing the end of a tough season, and we had been pretty self-focused, but we were at a place where we could give again. And I thought of all the things that Nancy loved: flowers, dogs, horses, Mr. Speckles, a little bit of elbow room. And I thought, if she goes somewhere else, she can't have all those things. And it just made my heart sad. I couldn't bear the thought if we could do something about it. So her memory was failing, and the doctor, like Lulu was saying, the doctor said the best place would be with family. So she came, and I became her caregiver, and she thought maybe she could help us a bit, but I knew that she was probably going to need our help. I thought she was coming for her, but what I didn't realize is that she was coming for me and for my kids and for probably even some of you. Nancy came to Ankeny with dementia that was going to get worse over time. But at 95, God wasn't finished with her yet. He had a final leg of the journey for her here in Ankeny. She started by being an adult who forgot things and ended very childlike. She didn't know who we were. She didn't know where she was. Everything began to fade. But dementia doesn't fundamentally change you. It just reveals who you truly are without all the facades. Nancy's love for learning didn't change. In fact, I would have to remind myself when she would ask me the same question over and over and over and over again that that's what I like about Nancy. As I cared for her, the things that have already been mentioned by others, her selfless giving, her good habits, they were still there, shining through. Let me tell you, it sure makes it easier to change an adult diaper when someone sweetly says, oh, you shouldn't have to do that. She always woke up with joy, hoping it was Sunday, and never stopped singing God's praise. The last Sunday she went to church was about 2 weeks before she passed away, and we got there late. Perry dropped us off. We were rushing in, and the music had already started. Now, with her dementia at that stage, she couldn't do two things at once anymore. So I was trying to pull her across the aisle to the seat, and she kept stopping to sing. We finally got over to our row, and someone on the music team told me that she was just glowing the whole way through church to her chair. As she went into her final days, just over 100 years old, many of you came and told me stories. You told me things, and I really saw that God transplanted Nancy here in her final years to give thoughtful, encouraging words to you and to our family. God was working through dementia. God was working through Nancy to minister here in Iowa. Because God doesn't usually come with pomp and pizzazz. That's why they missed the Messiah when he came to earth. God often uses what is perceived as weakness to accomplish his